He should be banned from all the platforms. He should be unilaterally banned from travelling because he's a f***ing idiot, and it's just mind-boggling that he keeps doing this stuff.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad in Japan podcast, probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broad, and we're joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Dawson himself. Pete, how the devil are you doing? What's going on?
I'm fantastic now you've reverted to your original introduction of me that you've been doing for about 4 years. Last week and the week before, you decided to just go freestyle jazz on me, and it is very discombobulating. I didn't know what was up and what was down, to be quite frank. How are you, Chris? I'm a man who does nothing because I'm a man who lives out in the sticks, travels into London twice a week just to record a couple of podcasts about football and wrestling, and I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do this beautiful show. What is happening in your life, Chris? I mean, for crying out loud, we've had Halloween and nothing really happened there. What else has happened? We've got like bonfire night coming up soon. There's very little really happening in the bum end of nowhere in Southend. But I imagine in Tokyo there's a few more exciting things. You're in the middle of a mad election, aren't you?
The election's so boring. The person, our wonderful colleague who makes this podcast for us and types up the stories or whatever, had like a news story on the politics, and I was like, remove that. Right. I don't have the energy. It's so boring, Japanese. A prime minister comes in, he's really old, he's not very good, nobody likes him. He calls an election, instantly gets dethroned, and now Japanese politics is chaos. And no matter who comes in, it's usually the LDP, the ruling party for almost like 80 years, give or take a few years in the 2000s when they slipped up. And they just don't do anything. They never instigate any changes, really. And they don't really look at the problems, and they just let Japan get in more debt and dig itself into a bigger hole. So politics aside, it's been an alright week. I did a bit of filming with Natsuki. I had a nice moment. I was at Kinosaki Hot Spring, which is a really beautiful hot spring on the outskirts of Kyoto. I say outskirts. A 2 hour
that is
journey
a long
outside.
Skirt. That is a yes. Skirt and a petticoat. That's a wedding train.
That it is, and that's why I'd never been there actually, because it's quite far out. And we were there, and I ran into a middle-aged couple, or later middle-aged couple. What would you call somebody who's probably in their 60s, Pete? That's older age, isn't it?
I think that's I think middle age. I think to make older people like me feel better, I think kind of extends a very, very long way. I would say, hey, coming in the water's lovely. Best decade of my life, my 40s. I think it sort of extends. I don't really know where middle age starts, middle age ends. And to be honest, even it's like people talking about being millennial and stuff. I am technically by about a week, I think, an elder millennial. But what does that even mean?
You're very old.
It's just a cudgel to beat people with, It's just a cudgel.
Well, whatever the age, middle age or not, they were very nice. They were a couple, probably in their late 50s, early 60s, British, and looking a little bit lost. And they were like, he kind of gave off like a banker vibe, a British banker vibe, living in Surrey is the vibe I got. And he was like, we've come to Kinosaki, we went to Kyoto, we didn't think much of it. It was rather rubbish, to be honest. And we thought we'd spend an extra day here in Kinosaki. And we got talking, and I gave him some tips. He was like, what do you do? And I'm like, I do like YouTube stuff. And he's like, I don't know what that is. And I was like, I travel the country, make videos in my bedroom. And he was like, very good.
People can be so aggressive about sort of telling you that they're not into something, isn't it? Like,
I don't know what that is.
A lot of that sort of thing. I don't know what that is, and I don't think you should be doing it.
What do you? Yeah, when you're a radio DJ, I'm a radio DJ. I don't know what that is. They were nice, and at one point, so he was. They planned this 3-week trip to Japan. Actually, it was their first time, I think, and they were going to some pretty out there locations, like they were going to Scarecrow Village in Nagoro, the town in Tokushima, a really remote place. I had no idea how they were going to get there. And it was a really impressive itinerary, actually. And and then at one point, they were like, it was like, what else do you do? You can't just make videos. And I was like, I wrote a book as well about Japan. It's called like Abroad in Japan. And he went, wait a minute, I have that book right here. And he pulled it out of his rucksack, and all of a sudden I'd gone from scrounger making videos in my bedroom to established Sunday Times bestseller. And he sort of flipped in an instant and was like, oh my goodness, Audrey. And he like called his wife over. He was like taking a photo of a tree. Oh, you must meet the Sunday Times bestselling author.
Yes.
Finally, the book's paid off.
It's mad, isn't it? What kind of things that people find acceptable in their lives? That suddenly you just become this important figure in their lives because you've done something that they kind of understand and they have a concept of. It's yeah, that's mad.
It was funny just seeing him snap and become a different person when he realised that I might be of more value, or might be like, I don't know, the way I was suddenly reevaluated from like weirdo making videos to established author, and he was like, "Gosh, Chris, it's an honour to meet you."
When I worked for about 6 weeks for the BBC, that was suddenly that's a proper job. XFM, crappy radio, London-based rock radio station. But as soon as you do a stint on Six Music, suddenly that's proper. That is.
There's always that joke on Trash Taste with Gaunt, who worked at the BBC for a bit, and I don't talk about it much, and then it always sort of comes up as this sort of trump card that you can throw out when you've worked somewhere as impressive as the BBC. So that was my equivalent, having a book, and he made me sign it, take a photo, and it was really bizarre. It was quite a funny interaction.
Still matters this sort of stuff.
So it was nice. That was nice. What else happened? I didn't really do much for Halloween. It was I did nothing really. We're going to talk about Halloween as the sort of news story this week because it's quite an interesting topic, especially as Pete Donaldson is Mr. Halloween himself, and it's more of a broad conversation, which is what we should have called this podcast, a broad conversation about.
That would have been so lame.
That would have been brilliant.
That's the lamest podcast title I've ever seen, and we've had some podcasts in our time.
You know what I used to call the second channel? It's now called Chris Abroad, which kind of makes sense. Do you know what it used to be called?
Oh,
it was quite pretentious.
Oh, it wasn't like Broad Landscapes or something like that.
No, it wasn't Broad Landscape. Gardening, fucking no. It was called A Broad Perspective.
That's right, A Broad Perspective. Yeah, the more you interrogate that kind of analogy, that title, you do sort of go, "What does that even mean?"
I know, right? And it didn't last very long. I quickly rebranded it and on my way. But so we're going to talk about the unfunning of Japan, and how fun cannot be allowed now with things like Halloween being banned. Or Halloween being banned in Shibuya, to put it more bluntly. Did you see your favourite? Actually, my favourite bit of not the podcast before, but the one before, we talked about YouTube drama. And predictably, the drama podcast talking about Beast and Logan Paul did really well. And we should pivot now to just being a drama channel, because that's where the money is, instead of talking about things that are interesting.
This Broad Perspectives guy. Let's say he's a real shitbag.
You just switch permanently to drama. You get like 4 times the views, and you don't need to say anything of value. My favourite bit of that was when we were talking about Logan Paul, and you were like, "Bro, he's a good wrestler," and then I was like, "That's like saying Colonel Gaddafi built a nice road in Tripoli." And then we went off on this tangent, and I just thought, and you were sort of like, "Well, Gaddafi, that road was great. I loved it." And I just thought that'd be such a good book. Pete Donaldson presents Dictators. They weren't all that bad. And you just go around the world highlighting dictators.
I mean, I don't remember that. I mean, bearing in mind, I'm recording this at 6 a.m. and I don't remember any of that. But when someone's in the comments saying, I didn't see that Pete was a Colonel Gaddafi apologist, I was like, was I? Maybe I am at 6 o'clock in the morning.
I think they were joking, but like, I want to see a book, Pete Donaldson going around the world, kind of revealing they weren't all that bad. Idi Amin built a daycare centre, and Pol Pot built a well. I'd love to see Dictators on there, flipped on their heads. The book that would get cancelled immediately on release.
You're joking, aren't you? Have you seen the revisionist kind of right wing media in the US? It would be a top seller.
Well, it would sell quite well. Yeah, you'd do quite well. But on the subject of drama, do you see good old your other favourite after Colonel Gaddafi, Johnny Somali, got arrested in South Korea after kissing the Comfort Women statue in Seoul, the statue that's there to commemorate some of the bad things that happened in World War II around comfort women. And he's sort of kissing it. And then he goes to a 7-Eleven or whatever it is in Korea. I don't think I've got 7. He went to a convenience store anyway. And he sits there and he has his bowl of instant ramen. And he just turns it over and pours all the steaming hot water all over the counter, all over the chair. And it's like, when will you learn? Why won't you learn? Don't be a dickhead. And he got physically assaulted and arrested. And it's just Korea doesn't seem to be taking it quite as sitting down as Japan did when he was here for 9 months. He's become like this target for like a lot of very angry people in Seoul. And and even the Prime Minister during quite a heated political time, people want to sort of use him as a something to take their anger out on and something to become like a focal point for all this whatnot. And it's just like, oh my God, who keeps giving this guy like a platform to produce his live shows, right? And who keeps giving him, like, he had a YouTube channel. And also, I don't think I talked about this, but when we opened the bar back in August, he actually left a comment somewhere saying, I'll be at the bar, I'll be coming to the bar. And we were like, no, you're not, you can fuck off. Like, it's just like, why are these platforms allowing him to stay there? He should be banned from all the platforms. He should be unilaterally banned from travelling. Because he's a fucking idiot, and it's just mind-boggling that he keeps doing this stuff. Why won't he learn? Why does he seem to want to constantly cause problems and go to prison? I don't understand. Help me understand, Pete. Help me.
I mean, he only seems to just do it in places where he's,
he thinks he can get away with it.
He thinks he can get away with it, sort of thing. But what I'm liking, he's kind of running out of those countries, and he's frequently getting into situations where, a Korean man is punching him in the face and stuff. So yeah, it's annoying that, like, you're on a platform where, we can't even talk about necessarily the or describe in detail what even the term comfort women mean, right?
Probably not. Japanese, probably instant demonetization.
I don't know what the words are, but certainly on YouTube you can't use certain words to depict precisely what went on.
But you can terrorize an entire culture blindly, and
but you can literally film yourself, kissing a statue and saying you're going to rub baby oil on it and have sex with it. This statue, and that's absolutely fine. And and so he's just sort of rolling around, just throwing noodles around and stuff. But it's just, apparently the man who punched him in the face is kind of being kind of hailed as a massive hero. As like Captain Korea, I think, a hero has appeared and stuff. So not. I
mean, obviously, there's no way. I don't want to condone any physical violence. I think he just needs to be arrested and sort of fined and punished more than anything. But there's definitely something going to these countries where he thinks he can sort of get away with it. And indeed, he did, didn't he? In Japan, he got away with it for 9 months, and all through that time, I didn't talk about him once really until right at the end when he did get arrested, because I didn't want to give him any media press or traction. But by that point he had so much that us talking about it didn't really add anything to the, it wasn't a big deal at that point anyway. But it's annoying. But why can't he go off and be an MP in Cyprus like Phidias what's his face last year? Why can't he be an MP? Why can't he be a senator? Yeah. He could be a senator instead.
He went to I mean, fascinating. He went to like a He travelled in Korea to see a bloke who called himself Texas Asian Nazi, like a kind of a mad Korean American man, I think, who basically was jailed. Yoon Hyun Jong. He was sentenced to 97 months in jail in the United States after being charged with firearms violations in 2019. And you is known. I'm unfamiliar with this chap because maybe I don't spend that much time around 4chan, but he's known online as Texas Asian Nazi. And he and Johnny Somali, thinking, hey, this guy's a kindred spirit, travelled to his house. And then a load of Korean YouTubers gathered to confront Johnny Somali at this mad man's house. And during an argument, a man stepped out and kicked Johnny Somali, because that's the only language the man understands, it seems. And then there was just a big scuffle, and there was just loads of stuff going on. Texas Asian Nazi brought a baton out, and everything just sort of kicked off. And now Johnny Somali's just fled. So I imagine authorities are probably looking for him at the borders. But it's just I just don't know why. Like, you're not like the difficulties that most people find to like getting into countries. I don't know why this man keeps on getting, the visas that are needed to get into these places. I mean, I would like to see him do that in fucking China. You fucking do that in China or Taiwan or something like that. Good God.
North Korea.
I'd love to see that.
I want to see the Johnny Somali North Korea Pyongyang special. I mean, that would be a stream even I would tune in for, probably. But dear, what a fucking idiot. What an absolute fucking idiot. Anyway, we've got a story this week from Peter. And it begins, hello, copious Chris and plentiful Pete. I found myself clubbing one night in Dotonbori, Osaka, and it was my first time attending a nightclub in Japan. There were stark differences from what I'm used to in the United States. Coin lockers, clean toilets, and orderly lines at the bar. At about 3 a.m, after hours of dancing, I moved to the back of the club and was approached by one of the staff members of the club who was wearing a pair of cat ears and a big smile. Definitely not worrying. Being the overly eager foreigner that I am, I told her she was a cute cat. She meowed and pawed in the air. So far, so good. What a chat up line. I asked if she enjoyed her job working at this Osaka nightclub. Surprisingly,
do you like being a cat?
Do you like being a cat? Surprisingly, she launched into a tirade about how she has to work until 6 a.m. every night. She's tired all the time and she works very, very hard. So hard, in fact, that she deserved a tip. I was confused. I thought tipping culture didn't exist in Japan. I tried to change the subject, but she kept saying over and over how Kitty deserves a tip. Being a sucker for a pretty face. I reached into my pocket and handed her 500 yen coins. She took it with joy on her face and said coins are what Kitty eats, whatever that means. We danced for about 30 seconds before she walked away. Could either Chris or Pete explain to me when tipping is acceptable and whether it's common to encounter cat girls in nightclubs? Thanks for the podcast, guys. Peter, who loves cats. So tipping culture doesn't exist. I mean, the only place you'd probably find it is like a bloody strip club or something. I guess this was the closest thing to that, right? Right. Kitty wants money. Well, the kitty likes to eat money. I like to go on then, fucking eat the money. Eat the money now.
Eat my 500 yen coins. Do you not think that like it's one of those you'd like tip those little golden cats that you've literally got here in the frame, shop. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. One of those cats that give you good luck, the Neko ones. Could you not, like... Because you're supposed to give them money, aren't you, for good luck? So, like, maybe he just got so absolutely out of his tree in the nightclub that he just thought he was talking to a real lady, but it was actually a cat.
Yeah. So I'm holding up on YouTube the Maneki Neko that I love so dearly. And, you can see there's a coin slot there. So the cat does eat the money. Does eat it. Smoke off. Don't touch. You're not coming to my studio when you arrive in Japan.
That's going to be my quest. That is my quest. I'm going to smash
bad
the
luck.
Neko.
Bad luck. Can't do it.
Is it? Oh, goodness. Did you, when you were a kid, did you ever have those piggy banks you used to get free with a child's bank account? That was always a big vibe in the late 1980s.
I think that was an 80s thing. Right by the 90s, they'd given up the concept of fun.
I never had one. I always wanted one, but I'm struggling to see why I coveted them so much. But just didn't have a bank account. I'd no cause for one.
Oh, well, you were like 10, weren't you? Or 8?
Yeah, don't need
6.
it. Don't need
You're
it.
a young man. I always forget it's actually like a piggy bank though. It feels wrong to put money in it though, especially as I move it around so much.
Money in it, for crying out loud.
Well, you can fucking put money in it when you come to Japan.
I'm going to smash it. You better hide it from me because I'm going to smash it.
The cat's hungry. The kitty needs fucking £5,000.
Kitty needs a tip. Coins are what Kitty eats, for crying out loud.
I think that's a fun story. It reminds me of when I was in Kyoto with Sharla last year. We had remember we opened the first bar in Kyoto. We went out for dinner with a prominent businessman whose bar we'd rented out. And he sort of took us to this place where there was a geisha, like, serving drinks at this bar. And while he was away and it was sort of quiet, and it was just Charlotte, the girl, and I. I was like, "Do you enjoy being a geisha?" And she was like, "No." And my conversation reminds me of that. This girl, she was pretty young. She was like 17 or 18, probably 18, 19, very young. And she was like, "I was attracted to becoming a geisha because I like the music and the culture, the art behind it." And then she was like, "But now I just work long hours and pour drinks, and it's not that fun." And it reminds me of that. This is the same sort of thing.
So you popped a 500 yen coin into the back of her head.
That's right. I went, "Take this, love. Have 500 yen. That'll help you out." Yeah, they deserve a tip, though.
I would say that, you're literally, in many ways, a Western geisha. You know, YouTube feeds you coins and you dance around, exploring the culture of Japan. You're literally a geisha, son. Son, you're
I'm
a geisha.
Abroad in a geisha. Oh, dear. It doesn't
Abroad
work.
in a geisha.
Oh, dear. But I'll take that. That's a nice compliment, that is. I like that. But, it sounds like a fun nightclub. I've been clubbing in Osaka and Tokyo, and I will say Osaka clubbing atmosphere is a lot better than Tokyo, from my experience. Although I met my Japanese friend of mine, he's from Osaka, and he maintains Tokyo's better, so I don't really know where's which. I will say clubbing isn't as big a thing here as it is in sort of the UK or the US, that's for sure. You know, did you ever go to clubs when you were here?
Oh, mate. Tokyo? Well, you know me. As soon as I've got the first drink on my lips, I'm already thinking about dancing, because I'm a dancey guy. I don't know what it is culturally. People from the northeast who were born in the 80s, they just want to dance, and I'm just sad.
There's nothing else to do.
There's nothing else to do. There's nothing else for me to do but dance.
Once the mines shut down in northeast England, all they had to do was dance. The old miners, eh?
Northern soul, baby. And so like the night has to end with some kind of dancing. But the only problem is that Japan's clubs are absolute dog pops, and they're terrible. I've had about 2 or 3 sort of clubbing experiences, and one was just kind of a big rock bar that had like an indie night on, and that was really good. But there just needs to be a non-Western focused sort of rock, like dancing rock night, I think, in Tokyo, and that's the sort of city that you would expect it to have. There's very little opportunity for decent clubbing, and I used to go to the Bar Camelot, I think it is, in Shibuya. That was pretty good. That's got a few floors, and it's nice and roomy and stuff, and it's pretty well attended. I've got an update actually from Banya Bat, who obviously edits these podcasts and get them up. He went to a couple over the weekend, and he went to Club Aqua, which definitely reminds us of a Tim Robinson Think You Could Leave sketch. But he went to Club Aqua. That wasn't very good. He went to Club Asia. That wasn't very good. He heard "I'm Blue" by Eiffel 65 a hell of a lot.
Oh my god!
There was a little Spotify pop-up club in Tokyo. So if you're heading to Tokyo for this weekend, there is a little pop-up club from Spotify. I'll find out where that is and get it up somewhere. But apparently do you remember the band The Wombats?
Vaguely. But yeah, I've seen them once, yeah.
You know, like, let's do Joy Division. I think they're Scousers. Apparently they're basically like the Beatles over here. They're on non-stop fucking everywhere, says Banya. So that's the update from the clubbing fraternity of Tokyo. But Chris, I mean, I'm heading in your direction pretty soon, and I've got a list of things. We've got one day where I've got the itinerary, and there's going to be darts, there's going to be wrestling, there's going to be dancing. It's going to be the best night of Chris's life, and it's just going to be great, and I'm really excited.
We're going to need lots of ukon no chikara, those hangover drinks you down before drinking it.
Lovely.
Are you going to film it or vlog it, or is it just a day?
Yeah, I've got one of those. Do you remember there was that big Vogue for that little camera you get? Those little kind of cameras that you can attach to yourself or attach to anything metallic.
Yeah, I've got one.
The 360
I've got one.
You got one, yeah. Yeah, well, we'll both wear one.
I'm
going to wear one of them.
I can't imagine a worse. You getting drunk wearing one.
What we could do on the Abroad Japan podcast YouTube channel, in the middle of one of the shows, just put a little mini 5-minute Pete Donaldson doing a Chris Broad in Japan. It'll be absolutely brilliant. Getting the real story of what Chris is like. on a night out. Brilliant.
I think people already know what I'm like when I'm drunk because I've done it in streams often enough. Like the time I terrorised a gin distillery while I was drunk. It was appalling. Connor always jokes about it. It's Connor's like favourite thing to always bring this up, and it's like I'd got paid to like promote this gin distillery, which is really good gin, Kinobi gin, really good stuff. We have it at Lost Bar, and I drink it at home in the comfort of my own home, and really good stuff. And I went in and I did an event for the British Chamber of Commerce to promote like a British business, and it was unpaid, I think. And then it went so well, they were like, "Do that again. Let's do that again. Let's do another live stream." So I went back, did it again, and everything went wrong. First of all, the live show, after 10 minutes and like 2 drinks, the live show, there was some sort of delay. Something went wrong. We had to completely reset and start from scratch. So we started all over from scratch, even though people had been watching. It had been a live show, albeit an appalling one. And I had consumed 2 very strong cups of gin cocktails. And this is like 47.5% or something ridiculous. Really strong gin. And started it again, and the guy that runs the place, David, I think he's left it, retired now, but he's a really nice guy, British guy, quite well spoken, banking background in Tokyo, and at one point he's like, "Oh, we're very proud of our distillery because we have the finest water from a well from beneath the grounds of our establishment." Oh, that's pretty good. And then about half an hour later, I was disgustingly drunk. I'd consumed like a bottle of gin, and I was like blackout drunk. I don't really remember what happened. And you can watch it. The live stream's still up. I had to edit it. I edited out like a third of it where it was really bad. At one point, I went to the toilet and I had like microphone still on when I went to the bathroom. But I was like, "Your gin, mate." I was like really drunk. I was like, "Your gin, right? It's so much better than everyone else's. This is shit, isn't it? It's shit, and yours is the best." And he was like getting quite uncomfortable, I think.
Lovely.
He was like, "Well, yes, we're very proud of your gin." I'm like, "What are you going to do though to make the gin better? What are you going to do?" And he's like, "Well, our sommeliers are always trying to find new ways to enhance our gin." I went, "Yeah, you're going to find another fucking well. You're going to get another fucking well, mate." And like,
kebab gin. To make a kebab gin, perfect. Because that's exactly what I want right now, kebab gin.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Love it. Live and unleashed.
It wasn't my fault.
It wasn't my fault. It was the gin. It was the gin's fault.
It was the
Think
gin.
Johnny Somali can blame the gin? No.
I don't think he's not drunk when he's bloody causing mayhem. At least I had like a bottle of fucking military grade gin. But it was fun. It was fun. I did the job. And then at one point, at the end of it, I got drunk and just stumbled around, and there's like nice pottery. And I was like picking up pots and being like, "Oh, it's a good pot, isn't it?" Oh, it was so bad.
Like Link in Zelda, just smashing pots, trying to get some freebies out of them.
But Shibuya just had its Halloween, though, and had a very different vibe this year. I had a few friends go and explore it and examine it. And, you used to come over for Halloween, like, every year, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It was a real sort of... used to go to Tokyo Decadence, sort of a party that always used to take place in Shinjuku, usually, in like they should just find like a massive restaurant and do basically I mean, it's one half fetish night, the other half Halloween. It's really interesting stuff, but always a good one to go to. And and it felt like very different to everywhere else in the world, I think. A lot of men dressed as toilets. Just needlessly dressed like just men like coming up with their own little superheroes where they've got like a mechanical toilet on their heads and stuff, and like waving around a toilet plunger and stuff. There's just a lot to love about Shibuya Halloween or Tokyo Halloween.
It was because there's not now, right? And that's the thing. It's quite a sad state of affairs. I saw some photos from Shibuya Halloween this year, and it was quite busy. It wasn't anywhere near as busy as it used to be, when it was basically like 5 football stadiums emptying onto Shibuya Crossing, and then everybody just stood there. They used to shut down the crossing, right, and people would just sort of stand on it.
People do listen, don't they?
Well, this year I saw people were not allowed to stop at Shibuya Crossing, and there was like a massive police presence. It looked like a fucking totalitarian regime was in control. Like hundreds of police officers being like, "Move, keep going," shuttling people onwards across the crossing. And it's kind of sad. But here's the thing about Shibuya Halloween. I didn't overly enjoy it myself. I went once, didn't overly enjoy it, but the atmosphere was kind of cool. There was a really nice spirit of people just, embracing costumes, cosplay culture, really good vibes. People's very friendly, good place to meet people, have a laugh. And it felt like they've just sort of shut down all that and just gone, no fun this year, no fun for anyone. And so, it feels kind of sad, really. This nice from the bottom up, this kind of organic, wonderful annual event has been crushed. And
it did. All it would seek to do, presumably, would just funnel these people into the bars and hostelries of Shibuya rather than sort of drinking on the street.
Terrible stuff.
That was the major problem, and also it obviously came at a time when the Itaewon, Korean crush that killed so many.
There was
teenagers.
that,
It was absolutely horrific. So you can understand, the concerns that probably were discussed in Parliament. But I think in many ways it was just. I think the politicians just sort of see it and go, the young people, the young people are having fun.
It's easier to cancel it. There was billboards I saw. I just saw billboards saying no party, no celebrations in English.
Was he dressed up, Billboard?
Yeah. There's these billboards everywhere being no party, no fun, no nothing. Right. It was really it felt quite dystopian seeing images of it. I think Lost Bar was quite busy. I think it did get very busy. But obviously it only fits 50 people, so we didn't just crush loads of people in there. But it's kind of sad, really. It's kind of sad state of affairs, and we see this happen. People used to love the view of the old Mount Fuji from Lawson. Can't do that anymore either. But fun's not allowed. Although to be fair, I heard they quietly took down the wall. The Great Wall of Lawson is actually.
Oh, did they? It's back down. Right. Okay. Gotta get out there, man.
That's where we should go. So this is one thing I wanted to ask viewers. We have 3 day, a 2 or 3 day window where we're just going to go off and travel somewhere. You and I do something cool. We go anywhere. And I want your help, guys. Where should we go? Let us know in the comments. Could go to Yamagata and see Natsuki. Could go somewhere else and not do that. I'm open to any ideas. Or where does Pete want to go even? Maybe I should just ask Pete. But then he usually doesn't come up with the finest suggestions. So.
I have different interests. You don't.
I want to go wrestling again for 3 days.
We're going to see Ventforet Kofu play in the J League.
No chance.
We're going to the Amayama Car Part Corporation on the outside of Dotonbori.
That sounds great.
To pick up a motor for a seat.
That would be kind of fun. No, is there anywhere you actually want to go there? Anywhere you've looked at in photos and gone, I want to go there. Let's go. I can propose some ideas.
Can I drive? Can I rent us a car?
I mean, do you have an international driver's license?
I do. I drove last time. I had a lovely time. I had the best time. Actually, where is my international driver's
license? It might not be
license?
valid anymore. I think you can only do it once or something.
Oh, right. Do you have to get another one?
Driving for you.
I think it's a 6-monther, isn't it? Yeah. Never mind.
But it must be somewhere you want to go. Somewhere exciting. We could.
Yeah. From Tokyo as the crow flies, there's got to be somewhere that's quite close, I suppose.
What about there's a town in Fukushima where they believe UFOs visited, and there's a really
God, I hate UFOs, so it'd be perfect for me. I'd be so angry.
I think
Fukushima would be fun.
I remember a year ago we had a story where we talked about the ghost wolf, the legendary wolf that roams the mountains of Mount Fuji. It used to exist, it went extinct or something. But on the night of the full moon, you can hear the howling of the wolf across the forests of Aokigahara. Why don't we go in search of that wolf? Why don't we go and bring it back and show the people?
Vlog the wolf. I'm not staying in a tent like
yes,
you
are.
Abused Connor with. I'm going to sleep in the car.
I'll have a think though. I do want to do something cool. I do. It's not every day the great Pete Dawson comes to Japan, so I want to do something adventurous and fun. So I'll think of something. But your recommendations are much welcome, guys. Let me know. Help me out here.
He wants to punish me because I'm taking him clubbing.
I do, and I will. We're back in just a moment, guys, with stories, comments, and questions over in the fax machine.
Wow.
And we're back with the fax machine. What have we got this week from our listeners, Mr. Dawson? Fill us in.
Tom from New York. 'cause I'm moving to New York 'cause I got problems with my sleep. Hello, Chris and Pete. That was a one-bar song. Hello, Chris and Pete. Early this year, I went on my first trip to Japan and had such a good time that I'm already planning a return trip next autumn. That's the problem, isn't it, Chris? You book one, and then the rest of your life is just dedicated to spending as much money as you can on flights. I spent 3 weeks following the Golden Route, and I'm considering venturing off to Honshu for at least a portion of the next trip. If you only had 1 week, or as the bare naked ladies used to say, what? It's been 1 week in autumn. Would you spend it in Kyushu or Hokkaido? I will be relying on public transportation instead of a car if that would impact things. Thanks, Tom from New York. Chris, what would you go for? A Kyushu, a little bit warmer. Hokkaido, fucking freezing.
That's a good question. So I'm actually going to Kyushu and Hokkaido in autumn this month.
Oh, right, okay, right.
So
fine.
I feel well prepared to answer this. Personally, I'd say Kyushu, maybe. I've never been to Hokkaido in autumn. I normally go when it's stupidly cold or when it's just right in summer. I've never been, just never had my porridge just right, so to speak. And that's a fucking weird thing to say. But I'm hungry. I haven't had my porridge yet. I think Kyushu. Kyushu is so cool. And so is Hokkaido, to be fair. Oh, I don't know. Fuck. Depends what you want to do. Depends how long you've got, right? Did they specify how long they had?
A week. Yeah, 1 week, I think. Yeah, 1 week.
Oh,
yeah.
1 week. Oh, go to Kyushu.
Awesome. Yeah.
Go to Kyushu. Hokkaido, you could do like a few days in Sapporo or like a 3 or 4 day trip. But if you've got a whole week, you can do like all the good stuff in Kyushu. You go to Fukuoka, you go to Nagasaki and Kagoshima. You go to Kumamoto, lands of the hills of Grotto. You can see a volcano. Yeah, Kyushu. Hands down, Kyushu. Done.
Lovely. Run up the Devil's Washboard, see the bear in Kumamoto. Beautiful. Go to Beppu, see where my car was made, my Toyota Century.
Go and get Peter's spare car parts. It'll be beautiful. Beautiful. That's where we should go on the trip. Holy shit, we should go down there and go and like interview the people that made the car. And they'll be like, who are you and why are you here? Fuck off.
Find where my car, find who owned my car, yeah. It's quite fascinating because that car will have been, driven around Kyushu, or driven around sort of Beppu way for like 25 years, and it will have belonged to someone. But I think it's quite hard to figure out who owned cars before they. It's not like a sort of public history like you do in Britain, so you couldn't really sort of figure it out. But it would have been a dignitary, or it would have been a taxi driver, or somebody. I don't know. From the clues in the car, I can't really figure it out. Really, just being a misused, badly treated Toyota. Really,
it's like somebody, a very powerful CEO, like the Wayland Yutani Corporation. Because I just love the way there's like a TV in the back from the 80s. And it's a pretty cool car, to be fair. I do quite want one. We got a question here but that could be a good destination. Good idea. Open to your ideas, guys. We could even relive the last time we shot a video where we travelled around Lake Biwa without a map.
Yes.
Maybe not. Connor from the US says, hello, Mr. Broad and Mr. Donaldson. My dad has always had a strong interest in Japanese history and culture, which me and my sister have now inherited. We'd love to travel to Japan at some point, but are concerned as our family have various physical disabilities. While my dad can walk just as far as any middle-aged man with heart problems, the rest of us have to put up with mobility aids. I myself am completely wheelchair bound when not in the house. Do either of you have any tips, warnings, or suggestions for someone travelling to Japan who can't climb steps or fit in very confined spaces? We'd like to go and experience what we can. I think Japan is it's a lot better than it used to be for wheelchair access. I can't think of many train stations except maybe the most rural of stations that don't have wheelchair access or kind of elevators. There's a lot of people in Tokyo who are physically disabled. Like 500,000 people in Tokyo have some sort of physical disability. So, I think, and good thing about Japan is they really, as we all know, they really go the distance with infrastructure. And when it comes to disabilities, they factor that in as well. So I would say it's pretty good. But just do a bit of homework in advance. Look up certain places. I can't think of anywhere where you would have real trouble, particularly perhaps maybe going into sort of small restaurants and places, smaller establishments where they're like hidden upstairs and whatnot could be the only place. For the most part, I think you're in good hands, Connor.
Most buildings are fairly well lifted, and I think as our notes were prepared, like the Shinkansen does have a wheelchair area if you pre-book, so it's you can get around the major kind of cities relatively stress free. It is a busy city, I think Tokyo, obviously it is, but I think people are quite considerate in the grand scheme of how that all kind of comes together. The stations are really big and quite wide, so it's not like you're going to be sort of squeezed.
Not like a UK underground station.
No, exactly, and I mean the underground. We spoke about this before. Like in the UK is horrific for anyone with accessibility issues. I mean, it's
fucking horrific if you're not disabled. Stupid underground stations are really horrible.
It's like 10% of like all stations are available or something to people who are in chairs. So yeah, it's but I would say just from getting a gut check as an able-bodied person, I would say that Tokyo looks pretty good compared to a lot of the major cities around. So you should have a good time.
100%. And even Osaka Castle has good disabled access. They've got like an elevator, so you get up to the top in there. So, have yourself a bloody good trip, though. Abby from LA says, LA Chris and Pete, I'll be returning to Japan with my girlfriend in the spring next year. This time, though, one of my arms is covered in a tattoo sleeve. And while I've made arrangements to visit a tattoo-friendly onsen, will it be expected of me to cover my tattoos when visiting shrines or temples? I'm shy and polite and don't want to do anything disrespectful in a sacred place. Many thanks, Abby from LA. I never really hear about temples or shrines. I think it's okay, to be honest. I don't think you'll have any problems. Maybe
fine.
Less travelled shrines. Maybe the staff will look at you, but yeah, I don't think it'll be a problem. I've never heard of that happening. So
I agree.
I'll just get some looks out in rural areas. But yeah, again, with so many tourists coming to Japan these days, it's just sort of bulldozed over the old way of thinking a little bit, and they have to accept tattoos are not as malicious, like some sort of malicious, inherently bad thing that only the Yakuza have anymore. There's far more foreign tourists coming to Japan every day than there are Yakuza wearing tattoos. So yeah, hopefully they'll.
I would just say it'd be a lot of admin to say if you dealt with anyone with tattoos, if you dealt with every single person who had tattoos, with the footfall of a popular temple, I just think you'd like the admin have actually gone. Oh, you got to put a sleeve. You got to put this prepared cone of paper over the top of it. It's just absolutely unwieldy. So yeah,
I think. Yeah, no, Japan's pretty conservative with all these things, and I think it's time to move on the tattoo front and just get over it, for God's sake. But yeah, hopefully get in there. Keep the stories, questions, comments coming in to abroadjapanpodcast@gmail.com or right away in the comments below. And let us know what you want us to do. Let us what you want to do with Pete Dawson. I'm kind of looking forward to it, right? Because I'll probably vlog it and make like a second channel video, do something a little bit fun together.
Yeah.
And
I'll put some stuff in this video. You can't stop
Christ. Me. Oh God!
Yeah,
but I want to do something fun.
A don in Nippon.
Oh, it'll be fun. We'll make a few days of it. So open to your suggestions. But for now, guys, have yourself a great few days, and we'll see you right back here to do it all over again on the Abroad Japan podcast. Bye for now. Have a good one.
Bye.